Good afternoon, everyone.
The camera here.
And welcome to the premiere event in celebration of Daniella's Bat Mitzvah. It is so nice to see the number of people who have traveled from all over the world to be here today. In the Torah portion that was read yesterday, Parshas Vayetze, we learned the story of Yaakov's flight from his brother Esav and his arrival in the home of his uncle Lavan. Yaakov shows up at the well outside of town, and what follows is a fairly standard formula of boy meets girl, boy falls in love, decides to marry girl, boy works for girl's father for 7 years for right to marry girl, gets tricked into marrying her sister instead, then also marries the first girl, and works for another 7 years for the right to marry both. Okay, maybe not your standard formula. It would make for a great sitcom. At the end of the second set of 7 years of working for his father-in-law, Yaakov approaches Lavan once more to inform him that he has fulfilled his commitment, and he asks for permission to leave. And at this point, Lavan says to Yaakov that during the time that Yaakov was living in his house, watching over his livestock, Lavan's wealth had grown significantly. He also recognized that this wealth came from God, and that God did this in Yaakov's merit, not his own. And he therefore asks Yaakov to stick around longer, and this time to work for a salary. So after some discussion, the agreed upon salary is that Yaakov gets to keep all the spotted and speckled sheep and goats, while Lavan gets to keep those with no spots and speckles. Sheep and goats was actually common currency back then. As we learn later, Lavan had made numerous attempts to try to trick Yaakov and modify his wages. So Yaakov decides to take matters into his own hands and help ensure that as new sheep and goats are born, they come out spotted and speckled. Now his methodology is definitely an interesting one. He takes wooden rods, peels back the bark, forming spots and speckles in the rods. He places the rods in the drinking water of the sheep, and lo and behold, the next generation of sheep and goats comes out spotted and speckled. Now, I'm not entirely sure where Yaakov studied genetics, but I am pretty sure that shouldn't actually have worked. And what that means is that God had clearly intervened to make sure that the plan did work. And that, of course, begs the question, why the Torah would tell us about Yaakov's bizarre attempt, rather than simply stating that God had decided to make all the sheep spotted and speckled. Well, to help answer the question, I'd like to share a story about a man who we'll call Billy. Like many before him, Billy wanted desperately to win the lottery. So on the day of the drawing, he prayed really hard. He prayed that he would win the lottery that night. But unfortunately for Billy, he didn't. So before the next drawing, Billy once again prayed really hard. This time, he started a day earlier, figuring that the extra praying should help him win this time. But once again, he did not win. Well, he wasn't yet totally discouraged, and he figured that this likely required a full month of prayer. So he prayed for a full month, and at the drawing 1 month later, he once again did not win. Well, this time he became furious. Billy began to yell at God, expressing in words totally inappropriate that I will not share today, that God does not listen to him. And at this point, there was a flash of lightning and a roll of thunder. The house shook and all the lights dimmed. Which, by the way, if that ever happens to you, it's probably not a good sign. You're probably in big trouble. So anyway, big flash, loud thunder, house shook, lights dimmed, and a voice called out, "Billy!" And Billy turned towards the voice and cried out, "God, why won't you let me win the lottery?" To which the voice responded, "Would you at least meet me halfway and buy a ticket?" Now, if I've accidentally given you the impression that a lottery ticket and some prayer is all it takes to win, keep in mind that the rules of statistics and probability are heavily stacked against you. And that's why you need to study math. Torah tells us about Yaakov's efforts, though somewhat misguided, to illustrate to us the importance of helping ourselves and not depending solely on God to perform miracles to provide for us. Only then, once we've chosen to help ourselves, will God step in and assist. Or as the saying goes, God helps those who help themselves. Of course, this rule of helping yourself also applies when seeking out help from people as well, as a person is more likely to assist another who has already made efforts to help himself. Daniella, I believe you've reached the age where I can let you in on a little secret. Now, this secret was shared with Sipora when she reached the age of Bat Mitzvah. and I may let Ethan in on this secret when he just has your bar mitzvah. So I do ask that you not tell him in the meantime. You see, I don't actually know everything. And I'm really sorry to have burst that bubble. You see, I don't know everything that the future holds. However, what I do know is that during the course of your life, you will be met with many challenges. Some will be big and some will be small. And some of the larger ones may even seem impossible. You'll find that when it comes to any of those challenges, if you just get started on them, and then you ask for assistance, others will be more likely to assist, and they won't seem as daunting. For example, let's say, hypothetically, that you have a speech to write. I don't know, maybe for about mitzvah or something. Purely hypothetical example. Once you start putting that speech together on your own is when others were willing, hypothetically would be willing to assist in completing that speech with you. Hypothetically, of course. And now, in the spirit of the Thanksgiving weekend, I'd like to say some thank yous. I wish to express my thanks to my wonderful wife, Michelle. Michelle, I'd like to thank you for all that you do in general, but specifically what you've done for this celebration. Now, I'm not saying that I'm one of those guys who is simply told what to wear and where and when to show up. But at the same time, I do think that for various reasons, you did take on a majority of the work for making this event happen. Whether it was putting together the centerpieces on your own, by the way, the amazing centerpieces that Michelle did, all on her own. Shopping for just the right dresses for everyone, which I believe was practically a full-time job on its own. Coordinating with the hall, with the caterer, with the photo booth. And all of that while taking care of everything else you normally do, which I will not list because we'll be up here all day. Michelle, I don't know what I would do without you, and I want you to know that I love you very much. Mom and Dad, for all that you do, I'd like to say thanks. Thank you for being the parents that I have chosen to inherit, for teaching me by example how to raise my children. And thank you for taking those angelic children off of my hands every now and then, so that Michelle and I can get what we call a true vacation. Daniella, I'd like to thank you as well. Daniella, pay attention. Daniella, I'd like to thank you for keeping life, well, interesting. From a very young age, you have always kept me on my toes, challenging me with questions that you would ask. You must have been no more than 3 or 4 when you started asking questions about why God created us and why we are here. And while I still don't have the answer to that one, I have enjoyed all of the challenges you've thrown my way and helping you find answers to some of your less philosophical questions, as well as helping you think of some of your own answers to those questions that may not have such concrete answers. Don't ever lose that inquisitive nature of yours, as it will be an asset if you allow it to guide you. I am extremely proud of the way you've grown up, and I look forward to being there with you, ready to take on any challenge you throw my way as you continue into adulthood. Daniella, I love you very much. Mazel tov.
Being a bar mitzvah means that I am now responsible for all my own actions, both the good and the bad. So I decided that as I approached the age of bar mitzvah, I may as well start out by focusing on the good deeds. I'm pretty sure I'll be needing that credit in the future. In particular, I chose to work on the mitzvah or commandment of chesed, performing acts of kindness for others. Last year, our school held a tzedakah or charity collection in which a different organization was chosen every month to receive whatever had been collected that month. One particular month, the tzedakah of the month was Tomchei Shabbos, an organization that provides food for Shabbos for those who are unable to afford it on their own. When I heard about Tomchei Shabbos, I decided that that was the organization I wanted to support. I was already considering a movie theater theme for my mitzvah, so I figured that selling popcorn would be a perfect fit for my theme. Of course, no one would want to buy just ordinary popcorn from me, so I hand-drizzled the popcorn with melted chocolate, and that is how Drizzle Delicious was born. I found this project to be a really great experience in so many ways. First, this was a great opportunity to use my creative side since I challenged myself to constantly come up with as many new flavors for my popcorn as I could, like cinnamon apple pie or thin mint, which looked super cool right now. More importantly, it made me very happy to know that I was helping to make Shabbos better for so many people, whether those who were able to have a Shabbos meal because of the money I raised, or the Drizzle Delicious customers who had drizzled popcorn on their Shabbos tables. So while I started off looking to work on chesed and tzedakah, I was also able to work in the mitzvah of Shabbos at the same time. And that means more credits. I'm pretty sure I'm still going to need them. I also found this project to be a really great educational experience. I learned some really big life lessons through this project. For example, don't ever add water to melted chocolate. Trust me. I learned about running a small business, about profit, or non-profit in this case, and about the importance of customer service. Happy customers meant more sales, which meant more profit, which meant more money to be donated to Tomchei Shabbos. I learned about the importance of keeping commitments. There were times I was too tired or felt like doing something else, like making movies on a tablet, playing outside, or watching videos on YouTube. But I had made a promise to customers, and promises must be kept. Of course, there were times the commitment really came in handy, like, sorry mom, can't put away my laundry, gotta make the popcorn, or nope, can't take out the garbage, I'm melting chocolate right now. So, there was that. This project also taught me about compassion for others. In addition to making the popcorn to raise money, I also went to the Tomchei Shabbos warehouse to help pack boxes to be delivered to the families in need. I was very surprised by the number of boxes that we were packing. It was definitely way more than I had expected. This inspired me to focus even more on my project so that I can help out in any way I can. There were times that I looked at the money that was being raised and dreamed what I could do with the money, such as buying everything on the Hanukkah wish list. But then I thought back on the number of boxes being packed every week, and of course, putting food on someone's table is more important than a Hanukkah list. Besides, my parents are actually pretty great, so I'm sure they'll probably get me most of the things on my Hanukkah wish list anyway. Thanks in advance, Mom and Dad. Speaking of my parents, you guys really are awesome, and not just because you buy me presents. I love you both so much, and I'm thankful that I have you as parents. Mommy, thank you for working so hard to make this day extra special for me, like making my signing board and centerpieces. Also, thank you for helping me with my bar mitzvah project, taking me for Slurpees, and always taking care of me. And taking me for Slurpees. Daddy, thank you for always helping me with my homework, whether it's for science, math, English, Hebrew, Chumash, Navi, or social studies. How do you know all that stuff anyway? Thank you for demonstrating by example the mitzvah of chesed. For as long as I can remember, you have always been a part of our local volunteer ambulance corps, showing me the importance of helping others. And thanks for taking me for Slurpees. Zipporah. Zipporah, Thank you for being the best big sister. Thank you for understanding and listening to me whenever I need you. And thanks for helping me clean my room when Mommy insists it must be done before we can watch TV. Ethan, you are the cutest little brother in the world. You make a great co-star on my videos, and you're really good at driving me nuts. However, I still love you, and you do, after all, give the best snuggles when you're sleeping. And to all of you, thanks again for making room in your Thanksgiving weekend